Rex Canine drags himself across sun-baked concrete, claws skittering against the clinic's metal threshold. Heat turns air into a lens. The world warps and breathes around him. Bite marks score his swollen chest in a mad constellation. An IV pole inside flashes chrome, and antiseptic burns the air. He doesn't come for relief. He comes to leave again. He scrapes the door with a blood-slicked paw, locks eyes with the horizon he cannot forget, and folds. A monitor wails from somewhere deeper in the building, a precise machine uninterested in miracles. The vet's shadow falls over his heaving ribs. His tag is missing. His eyes hold on to something older than language. He came to finish a mission no one else remembers. The temperature outside reads 109 degrees. Inside the body, it is higher. 12 hours without fluids. He makes a decision only soldiers make. He tries to stand. Morning had taught Evelyn how to count emptiness. One cup in the rack, one plate drying alone, one bed corner folded into obedience. The swing set out back hung like a sentence without a verb. The pill bottle in her palm clicked, a cold rattle, easy promises in white. The radio warned the elderly to stay indoors and the careless to beware parked cars. She closed the brochure to the senior facility and measured silence by photographs. A child's stick figures faded under magnet glare. 4 shapes once connected by hands and paws. Her phone idled face down, a black mirror refusing alleys of light. A voice in her head rehearsed an exit. Another voice tallied the tasks abandoned in the night. At 9:37, the phone trembled with an unknown number. The rattle in her palm stopped. Heat advisories bloomed red on the screen. Somewhere, claws scraped metal. She answered anyway.
The voice carried clinical warmth in a sharpened undertow. A German shepherd had arrived under his own ruin. Bite patterns small and frantic. Core temperature 105. Possible canine cognitive dysfunction. He refused treatment, oriented east, and attempted escape. The nurse said the dog's microchip linked to a comatose officer's household. The nurse said she should come quickly. Evelyn's ribs narrowed until breath required strategy. She shut the drawer on the pills and opened the door to a furnace. Asphalt answered with shimmering disdain. The car's engine coughed old dust, then steadied into reluctant purpose. She drove toward disinfectant and humming lights while the radio repeated desert numbers and the difference between forecast and fate. Somewhere, paperwork waited for a signature that ended a heartbeat. Somewhere, a dog insisted that a map existed beyond exhaustion. She tasted metal at the back of her tongue and pressed harder on the throttle. The clinic was smaller than grief and larger than fear. Stainless edges caught light like knives. Rex Canine lay wrapped in a cooling blanket he resented with his whole body. The vet's hands moved as if rehearsing a ritual older than hope. Fluids, antibiotics, a thermometer's ruthless arithmetic. The numbers refused mercy. The dog's eyes refused surrender. The vet said the heat had been inside him for hours, maybe longer. The vet said taking him back outside would likely end him. The dog stared at the door and made a private decision anyway. Evelyn recognized that decision the way a soldier recognizes a uniform in the dark. She saw bite marks arranged like desperate alphabets across his chest. She saw sand worked into his nails. She saw the east reflected in his pupils. He had come to request backup. He had come to lead someone somewhere no one wanted to go.
A hospital clock hunted toward 2 o'clock with a bureaucrat's patience. Somewhere else, a nurse aligns signatures with lines that decide what machines should do when hearts hesitate. Evelyn saw the time stamped on her son's chart in her mind, a red brand across remembered skin. She made numbers talk. 12 hours of dog left without fluids. 5 hours before a meeting turned her son into a policy. She divided herself by impossible errands and found no remainder. The vet offered a satellite phone and a warning. Cooling vests on hooks muttered their stitched prayers. A first aid kit blinked sterile blessings. Outside, the sun cast long knives toward the horizon. Evelyn secured bandages around a chest that rose in staccato fractions. Plan A was kindness. Plan B was speed. Plan C was refusal. The door sighed like a secret. Rex K9 stood on memory while his mind lost pieces to weather. Road became suggestion, then rumor, then sand. The city fell behind like a wheeled hallucination. The SUV stuttered over ruts that remembered convoy tires. Heat stacked itself into high, invisible walls. Evelyn watched the dog in the mirror choose a compass made of bones and reflex. He swayed but pointed, a needle magnetized by duty. The vet, hardest by a seatbelt and oaths, narrated vitals like a metronome. The satellite phone nested between them like a sleeping snake. In the glove box, a plastic folder whispered with predictions the hospital would prefer. Evelyn placed her palm over it, as if stilling a heart that beat wrong. Somewhere ahead, metal waited with its throat half open. Somewhere inside, milkless teeth had written their plea across a soldier's chest. The dog's breath measured out the miles. The air refused to cool. The horizon refused to move. The mission, however, leaned nearer.
They found it by the smell before the shape. Air turned sweet spoiled, a carnivore's gardenia. The container lay canted like a sunken hull, its lips held open by debris and stubbornness. Rex K9 hit dented steel with the last of his borrowed strength, paws raking rust into glitter. Evelyn used her shirt to steal heat from the handle. The door peeled wider with a scream of mechanical pain. Darkness carried temperature like a secret. In the back corner, a sliver of shade made a brief treaty with time. Under it, something that should not have been moving, moved. The mother lay between door and children, as if the dead could block heat by intention. Tags clinked near her collapsed throat. Fur stuck to metal. Flies lowered their complaints. Evelyn went to her knees and felt the floor burn through denim. The living were small. The dead were thorough. The clock accelerated. Luna's body told a useful story with bitter penmanship, a military clip, a scratched line of letters that still spelled allegiance. MWD, Luna. Handler, Sergeant Marcus Hayes. The metal bit Evelyn's fingers, not from heat, but from truth. She pocketed culpa and history in one move and turned to triage insistence. 3 shapes still attempted breathing. 3 shapes had learned too much about failing lungs. Tongues had swollen to clumsy punctuation. Eyes had sealed against the light. Skin foretold ribs in stark relief. A 4th shape lay in the mathematics of was. Rex K9 slid alongside, gathering small bodies with a mother's grammar, despite sterilization and a mind unthreading. He had let them write hunger into his flesh until infection redrew maps across his chest. He bowed his head against Luna's flank for 1 heartbeat, acknowledged rank in sacrifice, and returned to the living. The desert kept its heat.
They laid cold where cold would not be given. Cooling blankets unfurled like soft orders. Dropper water found reluctant throats. A few swallows reversed tiny verdicts. The vet worked in controlled urgency, adjusting pace to defeat shock and invite survival. Evelyn spoke in procedures no one heard, a habit from tents where helicopters made punctuation. Rex K9 positioned himself so his shadow mattered to creatures he could not feed. 1 male responded first. The second hesitated at the border between. The smallest female weighed almost nothing and argued silently with gravity. The cooler became a cradle for 3 reconsiderations. Ice surrendered its ambition, choosing moderation over extremes. Sand shaped itself around shoe prints that could be read backward and forward. They left with 3 and promised the other 3 good return, a vow to a silence that cannot answer. The door sighed shut like a rib cage. The sun did not negotiate. Hospital air invented a sterile winter. Deserts made ovens of intention. Evelyn's mind stitched both rooms with thread no one else saw. In one, a monitor drew cautious hills across a green field and called them brain.
In the other, a digital thermometer declared disaster with a number that required fewer syllables than grief. The car turned, braked, accelerated. Every motion wobbled. The vet called numbers that made meaning. Subcutaneous fluids waited like rain in a drought you could not promise land. Rex Canine watched the cooler as if will could power oxygen. The satellite phone vibrated a request from a building that smells like bleach and bureaucracy. Evelyn pictured papers settling on a table and pens hovering like weapons. She kept driving. Somewhere, a nurse adjusted a blanket to kindness. Somewhere, sand reset the world behind them as if they had never come. The puppies made fragile bargains with minutes.
The clinic became a triage cathedral. Gurneys met the cooler mid-breath. Tubes found veins built for none of this. Warming was refused until cooling agreed to behave. The vet spoke in two directions at once, instructing both future and present. Core temperatures began to argue downward, stubborn and slow. Rex Canine planted himself as sentry, eyes flicking between three boxes where hearts practiced staying. He refused food and water. Obedience to hunger seemed like treason. The vet leaned close to Evelyn and offered pragmatic mercy. Stay for the fight, go for the other fight. Trust that trained hands could carry this part. A text from the hospital imposed numbers again. 2 o'clock insisted on being real. Evelyn stood between rooms separated by miles and air and choices. She looked at a dog who had walked out of memory and heat to find her. She nodded once, the motion of a soldier accepting orders. Hospitals carve time into rectangles and swallow courage in fluorescent gulps. Evelyn moved through doors that had memorized her shape months ago. The air tasted like hand sanitizer and swallowed prayers. The window into her son's room showed motion she had not seen in injured seasons. Eyes moved under lids like trapped birds. Fingers rehearsed the idea of grasp. A neurologist wrote careful hope into sentences that would not be indicted later. Evelyn stood where mothers stand when words are both too much and insufficient. She let one truth sit beside another. A dog had led her into a tomb and made it a nursery. A son had learned to answer a call from deeper distances. She placed her palm on glass that separated facts and futures. In her pocket, Luna's tag clicked its private metronome. The clock hunted its prey without hurry. The corridor pretended to be neutral. It was not.
Forms waited with quiet menace. A line near the bottom threatened doors that only swing one way. The nurse explained policies with the compassion of someone who has built armor politely. Evelyn learned again how paper weighs more than bone. She listened to fear disguised as pragmatism. She became geography for other people's pain without consenting to be conquered. The meeting tasted like copper and law. Her mind kept cutting back to a cooling blanket and a bark that had not been heard in hours. The vet's last text blinked on her phone with the urgency of a heart in a small chest. 2 puppies stable, smallest critical. Rex guarding. Evelyn let the forms cool under her fingers for exactly 1 breath. Then she left the room with the velocity of refusal. Hospitals hold the illusion that leaving is failure. Sometimes leaving is the only way to stay. She walked towards signals. The satellite phone turned every breath into a hill to climb. The vet answered with a voice carrying blood and antiseptic. Evelyn placed the speaker near a mouth that remembered commands even when names fled. The ICU room's machines sang their different songs. Distant, the clinic's monitors answered arrhythmically. She moved the device near her son's cracked voice. He formed words like lifting weights underwater. The syllables were less language than intent. The dog's ears found a frequency not available to the rest of the room. A sound uncoiled from a chest that had been asking only questions. It was not a whine. It was not a howl. It was a report. The vet gasped like a scientist watching data overthrow theory. On 2 different screens in 2 different buildings, numbers changed direction at once. The smallest puppy relocated to the side of survival. The room recalibrated belief. The call ended them and began them.
Voicemail arrived with the weight of confession. A man's voice declared responsibility in a tone that didn't absolve. Words staggered from soul to speaker. Luna, handler, wrong choices intersecting with poverty and addiction. A container turned shelter, turned grave. He asked if the living had stayed living. He did not ask forgiveness. His breath scratched like desert grass on a bad wind. The vet handed the phone back with the care you give a grenade and a flower. Evelyn recognized the calculus of damage. She had done triage on men who framed their failures as weather. The tag in her pocket testified without sentiment. She saved the message for a day where the puppies' names were known and the dog who rescued them slept without alertness. The silence afterward was not empty. It was a room where truth becomes air. Outside, the heat dipped marginally and pretended mercy. Inside, work continued. Veterinary light made halos of plastic and possibility. 3 small bodies accepted warmth as a conditional gift. The female aligned herself by heartbeat and scent, sketching the room with ears. Blindness did not make her smaller, it made her thorough. The larger male tasted the world with indiscriminate optimism. The middle one brokered peace between chaos and caution. Names offered architecture. Hope for the one who navigated darkness without apology. Honor for the one who would break rules joyfully and then defend the broken. Home for the compass disguised as a pup who found the center of every circle. Rex Canine lifted his head at each designation as if endorsing rank. Evelyn wrote the names inside herself, where ink doesn't run. The vet updated charts with letters that held more than syllables. The room exhaled once. Somewhere far away, a hospital screen held steady hills. For a breath, all clocks paused together.
The body after crisis is a geography of tremors. Rex Canine slept in deployments. No position was safe enough to surrender fully. When dreams took him, his legs moved in partial runs, training firing through tissue, a mind misplaced. Evelyn watched the fog crawl and clear behind his eyes. Sometimes he found her face and held it firm like a landmark. Sometimes he looked through her at something he had lost before she was born. The vet measured cognitive decline in clinical notes and kindness. Strategies were offered, like bridges that crossed only in daylight. The puppies practiced eating as if it were a skill. Hope mapped stainless steel by nose and stubbornness. Honor chewed power cords that had never harmed him. Home learned to occupy the exact space where others calmed. Evelyn slept in a chair between boxes and dog, guarding the guardians. The night traded heat for cool and then back again. Memory drifted like smoke, but returned at odd times with razor edges. Rex Canine found the shade under a tree as if it were orders given in a voice he trusted. Evelyn moved with a body that still remembered how to lift another's weight without losing her own. The yard had become a narrow kingdom for rehabilitation, a green bandage on a house that finally sounded like voices again. The swing set squealed with the effort of denying rust. The phone filled with photographs of small victories measured in inches. A walker put miles in place one step at a time. The vet brought charts that decided to smile. On the table, Luna's tag faced the sky like a medal. The dog's head rested on Evelyn's knee. His eyes tried to recall which war and which woman and which mission. He chose mission every time. The names fluttered across the grass like birds.
Exercises built scaffolds around uncertainty. Rex Canine took point on a route from kitchen to door, pausing where thresholds requested thought. Hope learned the map of couch leg, rug fringe, shoe, then shifted tactics when furniture moved to test resilience. Honor's appetite included instructions. Evelyn learned to lock cabinets with a veteran's ingenuity. Home brokered ceasefires between teeth and rules with a body placed exactly in the way. The vet explained neuroplasticity as choreography. Repetition would etch paths where memory fails. The fridge collected schedules that looked like battle plans. Evelyn tethered her day to feeding tubes, PT appointments, timed naps, and the small ceremonies that make homes holy. Between tasks, she sat and let silence say nothing threatening.
The pills stayed in their bottle like polite ghosts. Outside, a breeze rehearsed autumn. Inside, the air identified as work. Rex Canine watched doors as if invited to judge their loyalty. A hospital corridor learned new footsteps. Wheels had been replaced by walkers. Metal declared a quieter war. Forms sat unsigned in a drawer that no longer wanted to be opened. The neurology team charted progress with tempered verbs. Muscles remembered tasks with the resistance of doors swollen after rain. Evelyn listened to medical language reframe the miracle to a process, and nodded because gratitude and science are not enemies. She carried Luna's tag in a pocket worn thin at the corners. Sometimes she placed it on a windowsill to let the day remark on it. The voicemail she had not returned sang between chores. When she pressed play, a man's remorse stitched itself to her pulse. He asked about Pups in a voice that could not forgive itself. She considered how to answer, decided to wait until survival was no longer conditional, and returned to the dog who kept choosing east in his sleep.
Charts do not cry, but the people who write on them do. The vet delivered news in layered tones. The smallest female had stabilized beyond expectation. Kidneys argued for their own future with improbable stubbornness. The fever had stepped back from its edge. In the same breath, the vet confessed a daughter in a different ward, learning whether waking would be a verb she would keep. Empathy moved across the room as a silent currency. The clinic's hum became a lullaby composed of compressors and duty. Rex Canine stood slowly with the cautious ceremony of an old parade. He checked boxes one by one with his nose, then returned to his station by the door. He was not on duty, but duty did not accept resignation. Evelyn pressed the back of her hand against his flank and felt warmth calibrated to survival. A text arrived with an image: 3 noses, 3 futures. Hope met grass with caution that lasted seconds. Scent wrote chapters where sight would never visit. Honor considered fences a philosophical suggestion. Home took responsibility for consequence. The yard's perimeter became a loop of practice. Trees issued breezes that smelled like the idea of rain. Rex Canine let puppies turn his ears into projects. Gentle reprimands lowered from deep places when play risked injury. The world had narrowed to one backyard and had not become smaller. It had become precise. Evelyn learned to read dog posture as if it were weather. The vet taught her to count breaths like beads and to believe averages only on Sundays. The voicemail remained unanswered and chose patience. Somewhere, a man rehearsed apologies to a dog who could not hear him anymore and to pups who did not know his name. The sun lowered its volume. Evening made the edges of things kind.
Transit permits arrived with signatures arranged like scaffolding. The hospital wheelchair made an entrance into the clinic's soft chaos, carrying endurance and unsteady gratitude. Machines followed on leashes of wire. The room smelled like bleach and formula and second chances. Rex Canine rose as if summoned from the other side of fog. Recognition flared, then wavered, then locked. The air changed shape around reunion. He placed his head where missing time could be forgiven. The puppies tumbled in a clumsy procession, each performing its assigned metaphor. Hope found the familiar by heartbeat. Honor tested the structural integrity of a shoe with a thesis. Home settled in the exact center of the circle and absorbed pulse and story. The vet stood at the door and let the room be louder than medical protocol allows. Luna's tag on the table reflected everyone back in fragments, which felt honest. When the call was finally returned, words arrived in pieces that did not beg for rescue. The man with Luna's name in his mouth gave details only handlers use: tours, temperaments, training scars that never show in photographs. He explained the route from devotion to disaster without self-excuse. He had left to steal blankets and food, been arrested, and returned to a container that had decided it was a coffin.
He said her name like a promise he had failed to keep, but still belonged to. He asked for nothing, only information about the three who had defied math. Evelyn did not offer easy absolution. She offered invitations with conditions spelled out in plain grace: sobriety like armor, work like prayer, presence like oath. The phone ended and left a space where accountability could set a table. Outside, wind pressed its face to the window and learned it was not welcome yet.
Days built a cadence. Feedings counted time better than clocks. PT wrote itself into muscles until movement felt like a familiar argument. Hope learned the house by scent atlas and body memory. Her route from water bowl to bed became a poem recited without words. Honor graduated from cabinet latches to problem-solving puzzles. Supervision gained teeth. Home brokered peace during thunder and human bones, and fireworks men keep in their closets. Rex K9's episodes arrived like fog banks. They rolled in, asked names to leave, then retreated enough to make joy possible again. During clarity, he taught, without asking permission, how to stand when standing is a question, how to be still from the inside out. Evelyn folded laundry at midnight and understood that fabric can become armor when worn by the right bodies. The pills expired quietly in the back of a drawer, ignored by a house that preferred breath. The yard gathered witnesses under a cooperative sky. A walker leaned against a wall like a retired weapon. Rex K9 positioned himself on the weaker side as if reading a manual no one else could see. A hand found harness leather worn smooth by years and storms. They rose together, careful as glass, solid as oath. Each step negotiated with nerves and gravity. The ground acquiesced. Muscles shook without shame. 20 arrived later than planned and sooner than feared. They stood after the 20th like mountaineers who have found only a flag and everything behind it. Rex K9 sank to the earth in an aligned collapse and offered the warmth of a living brace. Hope found them by sound and determined they were okay. Honor cataloged witness rolls, then lost interest. Home lay down across two ankles and declared the moment concluded. The vet took no notes. Some data prefer hearts.
News broke with a voice that had carried too many endings and was grateful for a beginning. The vet's daughter opened eyes that had been closed since grief did fractions with chemistry. The first word was not important. The second breath was. Recovery was filed under Long Road instead of Dead End. A puppy named Home would wait at an actual threshold and make the house honest about what it held. The clinic paused to applaud a life not present in the room and therefore vividly part of it. Rex K9 lifted his head at the shift in pressure and accepted a new variable into his calculus. He dozed with one ear on the door and one in a memory palace with missing rooms. Evelyn placed Luna's tag in sunlight and thanked a stranger she would never meet for teaching her how to finish missions that no one would applaud. They gathered without speeches. Lemonade replaced whiskey. Cake bore words the world should write on every wall: hope, honor, home. The puppies chased falling sugar. Rules took a holiday. Photographs caught ridiculous angles of joy and framed them as evidence. The backyard learned new laughter and retired the old echo. The vet laughed until it sounded like a woman instead of a profession. The man who had failed arrived sober and soft, carrying stories like folded flags. He held the largest pup as if it were fragile and found it was not. He promised work like penance and meant it. The yard accepted his vow without fanfare. Rex K9 walked perimeter twice and then allowed himself the middle. Evelyn looked at the scene and recognized a platoon made of accident and intention. The sun tilted toward mercy. Evening painted edges gold and did not call it forgiveness.
Later, when light thinned and conversations went quiet like fires reduced to formal glow, Rex K9 took position at the fence facing east. The desert answered with its old silence. Evelyn knelt beside him on knees that had carried too many bodies and let ground teach her patience. For one clean beat, his eyes emptied of fog and filled with a knowing utterly his own. He recalled heat that could not be thought, only survived. He recalled a mother dog choosing the door as last shield. He recalled the small weights pressed to his chest, teeth writing milkless petitions, and how refusing was impossible. He recalled a voice through static awarding completion. He remembered why, if not who. Evelyn thanked him without speaking, because language can ruin sanctuaries. His gaze slid, softened, and failed to find her again. The moment passed. The mission stayed. Stars reported for duty above weather. The house learned new definitions. Purpose replaced noise in hallway corners. The swing set accepted small hands again and decided to sing. Paperwork that had planned endings gained dust and lost power. On the fridge, schedules argued about who deserved attention and concluded it was everyone. Rex K9 slept deeper between alarms, occasionally waking with panic and finding only gentle thresholds to cross. Hope learned to run without seeing, which is the only honest way to run. Honor solved puzzles no one gave him and then pretended he had not. Home placed himself where sorrow tried to enter and made it refill a form before admission. Evelyn watered plants with the devotion of soldiers to boots because some routines keep you from drowning. The tag on the windowsill caught morning light like a small sun. Missions do not end, they change shape. The team remains. The desert waits. The door remembers.